meeting of the Design and Historic Review Commission, Thursday, July 1st, 2021. The time is 10 a.m. Please put cellular phones on silent or vibrate during the proceedings. We're calling the meeting to order. We do have a quorum present. Before we get started on the agenda, planning is a few announcements they need to make.
So just a couple announcements. We wanted to introduce our new planning manager, Zach Rainbow. He's very experienced, and we're happy to have him. And also our other principal planner, Sherry Bailey, has retired. So unfortunately, you won't be seeing her anymore, and hopefully have some other planners soon.
Okay. All right. We'll start with the consent agenda, and that includes consideration and approval of the May 20th, 2021 Design and Historic Review Commission meeting minutes. Everybody's had the opportunity to look that over. Does anybody have any changes or questions about those minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the minutes as written, and a second. I think that was Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner Mazur. And then we'll move on to the regular agenda. Staff has informed me that we need to rearrange the order of this a little bit. So first, we'll be hearing case CA21-03. That is 630 South Oak Street, a request for a certificate of appropriateness for a like-for-like replacement of the existing shingled roofs on Barracks Building 1 and 2 at historic Fort Concho, located at 630 South Oaks. And with that, I'll turn it over to city staff.
All right, thank you. Good morning. DHRC members, Jeff Fisher, Principal Planner. So our first case today involves Fort Concho, CA2103 at 630 South Oak Street. They had come in several months ago for a couple of the barracks buildings over here, and they were reconstructing them. Today it's simpler. There's a couple existing barracks buildings, 1 and 2, and this is just for a like-for-like replacement of the roof. So in this case, Barracks 1 and 2 have already been existing since before 1900, and just due to deterioration and rainwater and some of those hailstorms we've had, they're going to reconstruct the 2 roofs here. This is the Texas State Building, and this is Oak Street and Henry O'Flipper, so just to get proximity. This is in District 3, Harry Thomas, in the Fort Concho neighborhood. So these are the historic photos. I believe the original was built sometime around 1876 or something like that. So they're very historic. They were built with the fort. They were used to house soldiers. And today they're used as one of the buildings, I believe, is a gift shop and some storage, and the other building having some old armory and things like that. So these are some of the photos that were taken in 1910. Not very clear, but you get the idea with the existing wood shingled roofs. So that's what's going to be replaced. So these are the current photos of the site. These are the existing roofs. They're going to be a little darker. I talked to the architect over time. Basically, they're red cedar shingles, good quality, and then eventually they'll darken a bit, so they'll match kind of like that off-gray color that you see out there now. This is the site plan for Fort Concho. So this is the 2 barracks buildings. This is where it's going to go. It's essentially like I said. They're going to come out at the eaves about 3/4 of an inch. It's very, very minor. And the reason for that is the wood columns underneath. There's been some deterioration over time with some of the buildings. This way, they're going to extend the roof just a little bit, and that'll allow that rainwater to trickle off and not come down on the wood columns and erode them. So we're in support of the request. Rationale for a historical property or building is that it meets the 10 criteria for certificate of appropriateness. So I'll just go through them quickly. Number 1, that a reasonable effort is made for minimizing alteration. As I said, this is a like-for-like, so there's really not any alterations other than that very minor 3/4 of an inch extension. The original features will be maintained. The last update, I believe, I talked to Mr. Bluthard is here in the mid-90s when they fixed the roof last time, and so it'll just match the exact same wood shingles as that. Number 3, the alterations have the historical basis. It's very close to the original. It was 1869, and then we'll match the last repair also in 1996. The roof replacement will match the original, maintain the existing roof material, so it meets all the criteria. It's not There's no archaeological resources in the area, so number 8 is not applicable, and no contemporary alterations. So staff's recommendation is to approve CA 2103. 2 conditions of approval, straightforward. The colors, dimensions, and materials of all improvements shall be consistent with the renderings approved by the Design Historic Review Commission. Minor deviations may be approved by the Planning Development Services Director. Number 2, the applicant shall contact permits and inspections and register their roofing contractor if required. That's just something that permits is trying to do just to make sure for better quality. So if this is a city, so if they've already done that, then that condition won't apply. And just a note that the roof installation should meet all manufacturing specifications. Again, very standard. This concludes staff's presentation. Any questions or comments?
I have a question. Are those fire-treated shingles?
Yes.
They are?
I believe they are, yeah.
That's all I got.
I was going to say, Mr. Bluthart with Fort Concho is here if you had any specific questions. It's very knowledgeable.
Okay, there being no questions, I'll open up for public comment if there is any. And if there's not, well, that'd be the time for any further discussion by commissioners or a motion to approve or deny.
I'll make a motion to approve as stated by staff with the 2 conditions of approval.
I'll second that.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you for being here, Mr. Bluthart. We'll move on to DD 21-10, 119 East Beauregard Avenue, request for downtown district approval for new construction of an oncology center, medical office building, retail pharmacy office building, parking garage, wayfinding signs, and various other site improvements as part of a medical campus located at 119 East Beauregard Avenue.
All right, Jeff Fisher again, Principal Planner. Our next case today, that should be 119 West Beauregard. Shannon Medical, this is a site that they own downtown. It's surrounded by 4 streets. They recently platted and did an alley abandonment for this area in here. So this is going to be part of their future medical facility. There's going to be a new oncology building, which is the first improvement today that you're looking at. Second is an office pharmacy building, and third is a parking garage. There's some other various improvements too on the site. It's not, the landscaping isn't in the right of way, so we don't look at that, but we do look at some of the decorative fencing on the property, and they've also got 2 wayfinding signs as well. So a couple signs, couple decorative gates and fences, and then the 3 buildings in question. This is in District 3, Harry Thomas, in the downtown neighborhood. So this is the concept plan. So you can see the pharmacy office will be connected here. I believe there will be a bridge that connects the parking garage to the oncology building as well, above ground bridge. And then you've got the pharmacy, the parking garage, and then again, some of these little decorative screens and fences here. This is one of the wayfinding signs. It's just directional, get them into the property, and then there's the second one over there on Oak Street. So there's the full site plan. It includes parking. So the new oncology building is going to be about 55,000 square feet and 2 stories. So it's going to be mostly brick and stone. That's consistent with the Shannon Medical. So there's 2 things we had to look at here. One is it's part of the overall master plan development zoning, which has certain requirements that, quality brick and stone. There is some ornamentation metal as well, which we recently allowed through the PD. So if it's part of a metal paneling system and not the R panel metal, this is very high quality. So that is also part of some of the architecture on the building. So you basically brick and stone and some of the quality metal siding. So that's consistent with historical precedents in the Shannon Medical area and also with the PD. So this is the northeast corner of the building. And then we get to the pharmacy. Pharmacy will be 3 stories, smaller building, but a little taller, 24,000 square feet. Again, materials and color, the quality brick and stone, you see it on the women's and children's building, you see it on the new medical office building on Harris. So it's just basically going to look like an extension of what you already see, some of the glass windows on the corner. And then we get to the parking garage. This will be 4 stories. They do have some aluminum metal screening elements. Again, that is allowed through the PD. We think that's some high quality design, and then the vehicles will just enter here from the street. So again, that's consistent with the River Corridor Master Plan and with the existing Shannon campus. Again, just some of the walls, gates, and screens that you'll see throughout the property. In that garden area, we'll have a decorative stone, and then some trellises along here and patterned screens. Again, we believe that's in support through the River Corridor Plan. And then the 2 wayfinding signs, these are identical to the ones we've approved since 2017. I was involved in a couple of those cases with Mr. Droll. They did a wayfinding sign plan, and so they're just adding 2 more, and again, that'll just get them through. You've got a fabricated aluminum cabinet. It's painted in that tan color, very similar to what you see on the other signage in the area. So staff recommendation is to approve DD 2110, subject to 2 conditions. Again, colors, dimensions, and materials consistent with renderings approved by the DHRC. Minor deviations may be approved by the planning director, and the applicant shall obtain all required permits from the Building Permits and Inspections Division. So we welcome any questions or comments, and the applicant is here as well.
Any questions for staff? There being none, I'll open up for public comment. Anybody in the public wishes to come forward and comment? If there's not, then this would be the time for any further discussion by commissioners. And if there's none of that, then we'll entertain a motion to approve or deny.
Make a motion we approve.
I'll second it.
Okay. That was Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Mazur. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we will move on now to RCC 19-17 amendment, a request for an amendment to an approval for a new awning within the river corridor at 16 East Beauregard Avenue. And we'll turn it over to staff.
Good morning, Commission. Aaron Benoit, Planning and Development Services. I'm going to be standing in for our now retired Sherry Bailey. So y'all get to see me again for another case this month, or 2 cases. So I'll make sure I push this the right way. Look at that. So this is one that was tabled last month, 16 East Beauregard. We have an awning on the front that we're going to be looking at today. It's in the CBD district, Harry Thomas, in the downtown neighborhood. So here is on the left, on what I'm going to say is my left, hopefully it's on your left as well, on there is the changes that they've made minus the awning. And then we went and took the rendering of the awning and the dimensions, and if you look at the longer photo, we put that's what the awning would look like when it's on there. And so that's kind of the changes that they've done, and then that would be with the awning there that they have changed. So here's some of those dimensions that was requested at the last time. It's 20 feet in width, it's 9 feet 1 inch above the sidewalk, and it's 4 feet deep. So from the front of the building to the edge is 4 feet. It's 2 layers of metal with matte black powder coating, and I've actually got a sample over here that I can give you to kind of pass around. And it's a 4-inch band between the layers, and then 4 twister metal rope links for the diamond hanger to the awning. And I'm going to kind of go back to that. So you can see there that it's 4 inches wide, it's 20 feet long, it's 4 feet deep, and that kind of coloration, and I'll get that to you in just a moment. And so here again on the right side is going to be the replacement awning. The original awning that was approved had much more of an angle, and so they really wanted to go back to that kind of flat facing awning. And you see, as you drive down Chadbourn, if you look at the Raw building, they have something very similar. Their underside is just a little bit different type of metal tile. Across the street at some of those other older buildings, they have the same type of style all the way down Chadbourn Street that's very flat and just has the cable or the rods that come back, and that's kind of what they're going for on this. So here's a couple of examples that they had sent in the time before, that the rods actually come back at an angle. They're not a straight rod that's coming back. And so the staff did recommend this. Y'all did ask for some more of those specifics, and so we brought those forward. So we do recommend this, but we did want to bring it to you guys as it was a pretty significant change from what was approved prior. I'm just going to kind of go back to those, probably that one right there, and I'm going to pass this around and let y'all kind of look at it. It does have sharp edges, so just be, I don't know, I know that's the metal that would be on the top as well as the bottom, so the black matte powder coat will be on the top and the bottom. So as you look from underneath, standing under it, you'll see that black metal from underneath. With that, are there any questions for staff? Yes, sir.
I just have one question. When looking at it there, and this makes no difference, I suppose, but the line for the 4-inch thick awning, do you know if there was any consideration of the building to the left, the petroleum building, to see if they ever decide to put an awning, that it could be, the lines look like there could be enough for consistency that they would be
So
somewhat the same?
as far as elevation, you're looking at trying to match the
Yeah,
elevation?
I'm just thinking if they ever needed one, but it looks like they have a little recessed door. I can't tell, and I can't remember, on the right-hand side of the petroleum building.
Yes, sir.
So they may not ever need the awning, but.
That's a good question. I know, like you said, there is a little bit of a recess there that first tan line does come out just a little bit. I'm not sure. We could certainly ask that question, but I don't know.
It's not fundamental. I was just wondering about that and trying to keep it consistent as much as we could downtown, so.
Yes, sir.
David, does that look like it would go across there if one was?
Yeah, because if you look at that line, that little pull out is probably less than 9 feet. And that other awning, if they do an awning, it's got to be above 9 feet.
Yeah.
So it'd have to line
Have to
up with
be
what
up a
they
little
do.
bit higher. Yes, sir.
I don't see a problem.
A question, what are the plates that the ropes are attached to exactly?
Let's see if it shows anything here. We don't have an exact front facing of what that plate looks like. From my best recollection, it's going to be very similar to those plates that are there, that are basically a metal plate that's applied, that's bolted into the facade, and then the cables come in and are tied into it. I don't know if they're going to be a diamond like that or square, to be honest with you. I don't have that information.
And I noticed there's no light there. They're not putting any lights under it?
Right now, there are not any plans for any lights. We did ask that. I'll
Because
go
there's
back
no
to
lights
that.
even on the front of the building. Seems odd to me. I mean,
We did ask that, and they didn't think that was going to be super important at that time. I do think,
well,
I
there's
think
a
over
street-
time, you're going to want
There's a street light
that.
right there in front of it, so I guess that would,
True, that
Give 'em
does
some
illuminate
light,
quite a bit,
yeah.
yeah.
okay.
But they have done a great job. I don't know if y'all remember what the befores of that building is, and they have done, and I don't think there was any photos of the back, but they have paved and painted the back. Yes, right here. You can see where they've gone and repaved, they've gone and repainted that, and has made that, even the backside of that building, that you can see from some of the other parts of town, from Chadburn even, makes it look so much better. I think that's the last one.
Okay, any further questions for staff? If not, we'll open up for public comment. If there are any members of the public that want to come forward and comment on this case.
I believe the applicant was out of town this week.
Okay. All right, well, I guess it's time to entertain a motion to approve or deny.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay. Commissioner Wallace moves to approve. Do I have a second? I'll second it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. We'll move along to DD 21-07, 106 North Chadburn Street, a request for downtown district approval of an exterior remodel, including installation of new glass storefront system and exterior painting located at 106 North Chadburn Street. And we'll turn it over to staff.
Good morning again. Aaron Vanoy, Planning and Development Services. And so Mr. Nunez has come forward with an application for this building. He owns both buildings side by side, and you'll see a side-by-side photo in just a second. But he's wanting to kind of rehab this building, and of course, you can see the red brick and the black door and kind of black windows there, that he's actually wanting to go back and keep that as a much larger opening back to maybe the original that it was, as well as take off some of the blue tile and show some of the brick there. And so this is in the downtown neighborhood, District 3, Harry Thomas, and in the CBD. And so we're going to look at the exterior improvements that he's wanting to do there. So here's again that kind of side-by-side. He would like to try to figure out how do you mesh these two buildings together as far as making them look consistent. This is at the northern end of our downtown design district. Neither building have any historic overlay, so it's just looking at the facade to see if it matches in with that, the block in that area around. And so here, I'm going to actually pass around a little bit closer sheet of this. You can see this is they've been working with SKG to draw up some drawings and what the changes are going to be, but I'm going to pass around. I'm not exactly sure how many I printed out. I think I have 4, so some of you may have to share and pass over, but let me pass that out real quick.
I looked at it pretty close, so go ahead.
And Mr. Munoz has brought to us a pretty interesting idea that he wants to kind of keep that open look, because he actually does a lot of things at his business, but one of the things that he's known for is kind of specialty renovations of older vehicles, and he tends to like to display some sometimes, and so he's almost wanting that nice open feel, that he's got the glass door front system that would actually open up, that, you know, a wide opening that he could move large items in and out at times. He is looking at doing, you know, stucco between that main header that's been there, and I'll go back to a picture of that, and above where the actual new window and door frames would be, to try to match that in with the building next door. And then the other thing would be is looking at that blue tile, taking that off and potentially painting the brick. I know city staff in the past has not been very supportive of painted brick, but we're kind of trying to decide, well, does this work in this area or not? And Mr. Munoz has some other information that he'd like to share when it's his turn to come up. See if I can get it to come down. So again, these are the kind of the criteria that we look for is, you know, is it protecting and enhancing the city's architectural, historical, and cultural heritage through appropriate design standards, promote economic prosperity within the district by encouraging expanding occupancy and use of property and associated improvements, to encourage redevelopment of a mixture of uses, neighborhood services, and amenities that enhance its long-term viability and success, and to protect and enhance the area's attractiveness to visitors. So looking at those things, come on now. So the discussion points, he wants to enhance his business, provide a focal point and tie the two buildings together. And, you know, our question is, well, how can we get that to happen in our downtown design district? Generally, again, the painting of the brick, it can protect that facade a little bit. The question is, what color? Does it match the building next to it? Do we want to do painting? Is there not? And so I think that's one of our questions we have to answer here today. So our recommendation right now is to approve the design and have a discussion about paint and paint color. And Mr. Munoz is going to kind of come up and talk about that in just a few moments of what that would be. We would have the conditions, just like we normally do, of whatever this board has recommended for colors, dimensions, materials, that they would be consistent when they get it finished, as well as, you know, any building permits, and if there's any new signage, that it would come back before the DHRC. There's no new signage right now proposed at this time. I'm going to go back to that kind of color image, maybe right here even, that shows what the facade is currently. Obviously, there's some, in my mind, there's some neat colors in the brick that's there. But then when you go to this picture and say, well, how do you blend it in with this building beside, is there gonna be kind of a pair? How do you do that? And I'm not sure what the right way is to do that. And Mr. Nunez, do you mind coming on up here? And Board Chair, if you don't mind, I just want to make sure I tell you the right coloring. If he's proposing paint, Mr. Nunez, what color of paint were you proposing on this?
It's like a tan. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
It's beige, and I've got close-up pictures here that I could pass out to show y'all. So basically, go ahead.
Yeah, please, go ahead. I think
This
that's,
shows you the
it's gonna
texture
help them.
of the building, existing building.
Are you gonna paint it to match the other building, or are you gonna change them both?
I would like to match the 106 building, the brick building to 108,
this.
if we could. And part of the reason is we have a lot of brick damage, and I took pictures to pass out that I would like to see. And the missing brick, also, do you want to pass these out?
Yeah, if you could just start them down that way, we can go this way.
Thank you. Also, below the tile that's there, there's also, looks like there's damage. They look like they put concrete, and I got pictures of that. And there's also missing brick underneath. So I think I did the blue tile as a repair. And I got pictures of all the condition of the existing brick. So it looks good from a distance, but you get up close to it, and you'll see like the missing brick underneath the blue tile, and you'll see the damage to the brick.
So you're wanting to get rid of the brick?
No,
From
I was
the
thinking
tile?
I was thinking of covering it up with stucco.
Right.
To match the 108
Yeah.
check.
Right.
And painting it the same color.
And the tile, you want to get rid of the tile?
I do want to put the tile on.
And Commission, I'm gonna let Danny finish handing out his photos and then have him kind of come back here to the mic so that we can actually all hear and everything. Oh, you're right, Danny. I just want to make sure that, because we do record these and we just want to make sure that we get everything that we know to discuss.
Thank you.
So, Board Chair, if you don't mind, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Nunez at this time so he can kind of explain to you guys, because I think city staff is very comfortable with the concept. What we're struggling with from the city staff standpoint is how do we blend those two buildings together? You know, have him kind of explain where the stucco would be going and what color that is, and kind of have an open discussion about that.
As long as there's not a legal issue with turning it over to him before public comment, which if he's part of your presentation, I guess not, so.
Okay.
Absolutely, it's fine with me.
Okay, all right. Yes,
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So the front of the building, you're gonna put big sliding glass doors where you can put vehicles in it? What is,
Yes, sir. So basically what I'm doing is copying what they've done at Randall Motors and All American Chevrolet. Randall Motors, their showroom floor is very nice. They got a storefront. The storefront design that we're using is just like across the street from us, the SB.
yeah, but I mean, that's the intent, is to be able to pull cars in and
Yes,
out
sir.
of that building?
Yes, sir. So it'll be a 3-foot door and a 5-foot door. The 3-foot door will be your everyday use, and then when you need to use the opening, you would just unhinge the other door, which would be the 5-foot door, and it'll give you the 8-foot opening. Yes, sir?
So you'd be driving in from Chadburn straight into the building?
Correct.
Is
Yes,
there
sir.
a curb cut there?
No, sir, and we don't need one. I do not
You
want a
don't?
curb cut at all, because it won't be, the cars that will be in there won't be in and out
Okay.
every day.
The quandary I have and the overall intent is, and I don't know the answer to this question, are we trying to keep the buildings looking as two different buildings technically
No.
or one?
I would like to make them the same, because it's part of Engine Pro, trying to keep them the same.
And not
Yes, sir.
trying to raise your bill, but if the facade, and I wouldn't have any idea what the cost of that, if it come across and match probably the older type building would be more consistent. I'm not saying that to be a requirement, but if you're trying to make it look as one, sort of, then I think the facade and the roof line.
I agree with you. That's where I have an issue. I mean, if you're gonna try to make it match, you need to take that top off of there and then just do the same deal. But the problem I have with that is that building is so unique in its own.
Yeah.
And I would hate to demolish the top of that building, because if you ever moved out and or somebody else wanted to do something with that building, then we've destroyed a historical building that's been there forever. And the only thing that I can see on that building is where they added that, I think it originally had a storefront in the bottom, because you can tell that that brick is not original.
Correct.
But the other stuff was original, and you can actually get that bark face brick where you say you have voids and stuff in it, you can pull that thin set off of that tile and clean that up.
Okay.
So I just have a real problem with stuccoing that or painting over that brick. I think they need to stay totally separate. Either that or we need to, staff or whatever, or this board would need to change and then just totally take that cornice off of that other building and make it match.
Take the what off the other
Well,
building?
that whole top, see, and then just do, because
Yeah.
that original building that you're in right now,
Yes.
it probably had something similar to that, and somebody took that off back in the 70s or 80s and redid it.
Okay.
Before there was a DHRC board, but I just have a hard time
Yeah, I
wanting to
agree
do
with
anything
David
else. I think
completely.
they need to stay totally separate, and, you know, I think they would look great just leaving it like that, clean that brick up and put that storefront in it and, you know, put your sign on it
So you're
or
saying
something
that
like
that brick should still be available to repair that's behind
Yeah,
that
you
tile?
can fix that brick. Where you're saying it's damaged, you
Uh-huh.
can get that bark. I've got some of that bark face brick like that.
Okay.
from them older
I was told
buildings.
that it was hard to
Yeah.
find, yes.
You know, and because otherwise, my thing is, if you want to make them the same, the only way to make them the same is to take that cornice off and plaster the whole thing. I mean, otherwise, they're never gonna look the same.
Well, I was
That's
trying to
just
make
my
them look
thought.
similar,
Yeah, I
like,
mean, I
but
agree,
not
I would
not
just
the
hate
top,
to,
the
hate to
same.
paint that brick. I mean.
Okay,
I agree, I think make them the same is probably not the right word, maybe just make them connect to where, you know.
Right.
What is the outline above, is that brick or stucco that's outlining the top?
It's brick.
Well, okay, what if we painted that the same color as the stucco? Just that outline to connect.
Yeah, because is that blue up there? Is that tile? What, you can kind of see it there. You talking about the top, Lisa?
No, I'm talking about
The-
the light beige outline around the brick.
Oh, that's just brick.
What
That's
if
just
we-
a color, I mean, just a
What if we just
brick.
painted that the same color as the stucco, just to connect, have a little bit of connection?
Yeah, what about the top part? See where it's got blue? It looks like they painted that blue to match
know
that
what that
blue
blue
tile on the
is.
very top.
Yeah, I think, yeah, along the
So you could
top.
almost paint that too,
Yeah,
because it looks like
exactly.
it's painted. Is that metal up there? What is that?
it's metal.
It's
Yeah.
metal, see? So, I mean, realistically, you wouldn't be damaging the building if you just painted that metal too.
Yeah, I would like to see
And
that
do like
much
Lisa
more
said,
where
paint
the,
that brick.
than having.
And then above the
stucco.
glass, the future glass doors, you have, it says stucco. Is that new stucco that's going to be going in as a header above those doors? Or where that bright red newer brick is?
Right.
The doors aren't going all the way up?
No, that's correct. So the glass will be the same height as the glass that's there now. And then right there, that red brick
Yeah,
right
from
there
there.
that he's pointing at,
Yeah, okay.
we were wanting
To stucco
to.
it?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't want to do glass all the way up? Or can you
Well,
not?
because of the cost,
Yeah.
and that was what we were wanting to do.
Okay.
I have a building down in the other block, and it looks like one of those deals where no awning was there. I guess they had rods back then. Like it's down at Dick's Key Shop, I think it's still there, but.
Yeah, an awning would be
Uh-huh.
nice.
And then the windows were, what do you call them, David, when they fold out?
It's tilt out.
Yeah, tilt in or tilt out, yeah. It's up there at the top. We're not trying to be confrontational, but
Right.
what would it take to take the EPM building back? The
Oh.
front, just the front, to more
I
be
have no idea.
consistent with the historical part?
Because it probably had brick on it. They just stuck it over
Yeah,
that
I
brick.
think that's-
That's what they did.
Yeah. Well,
It
the
probably had a
brick,
storefront too.
I have no idea what that would cost.
What about matching awnings on both? Sorry, we're just kicking ideas around.
Yeah,
Good idea. You could run an
Yeah.
awning on yours and then
Over
do
there.
the same on the other to kind of tie them both together. Instead of doing that flat, well. Yeah, because, you know, when you, I don't know, if you run that glass all the way up, when you get that east sun on there, that west sun.
that would be
Yeah,
a lot.
So
it's-
where you have stucco, you know, it's kind of a blank thing anyway. We could have an awning coming off of that stucco.
Yeah, that sun is a problem down there. I
It
can tell
is.
you from that
And then you'd
photographs
have, you'd
experience
have the
it.
sun,
I'm glad y'all mentioned an awning. I wouldn't mind doing that in the future because that sun, it gets to the point where all your computers, there's so much, like a ray coming in, you have trouble seeing your computers in
and
the,
that would tie them together, and that'd be good looking, to have a couple of like metal awnings
Yeah.
coming off.
I think it would be a little bit better just to paint the brick, because you want to stucco all that brick?
that was the plan, yes, sir.
I mean, that changes the whole facade.
I'd
you
leave
know.
the brick alone.
I
Okay.
wouldn't care for that. I think that just
Just
painting the brick.
just
you know,
repair the brick?
You could, if you're trying to tie it in, you could go with the same color, as your EPM building, paint the brick, that red brick color, that color,
The red brick? Okay. I'm good with that.
The
As a-
newer
as a-
red brick or
yeah,
all the
paint
brick?
I would say where all the red brick is, that is not going to be glass. And, I mean, you could even do the top, around, and finish out all the brick there, so it flows.
As I was reading last night, you're in a quandary, sort of like we are, some of us own some homes we've got a quandary about, but applaud your efforts in trying to do that, and I hope you think we're just trying to help you get through that and preserve that. But I sort of read the minutes last night as it was a sort of an appeal for us to give this kind of input back to you. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, sir, that is correct. We really did want to have kind of a discussion generated by this because that also helps staff learn what should we be looking at this, this part of downtown? I know each property is unique, but we try to do some consistency. And so what I'm hearing is probably no paint on the building on the right. Find a way to, whether it's in this approval or a future approval, for possibly an awning that would, make the two buildings look a little more alike. And then if he's going to, I guess maybe a question is, that stucco area above where the awning would it be appropriate to paint that the same color as the EPM building so that they kind of match as far as some coloring there?
I think that's what I'm hearing the other commissioners say. Nobody has a problem with him doing the storefront on it, right? Everybody's just talking about the older brick on the outside.
Yeah,
and
just
what's done
changing
with
that to stucco, I think is just,
I would also add that you get somebody with Photoshop and take some of these pictures, and if you will look at places to repeat your logo or sign or whatever you want to call it from the building on the left, on the building on the right. For example, on your glass, it could be much smaller, but the same dimensions and in white. You can find a way to balance that with, say, the awning and painting the header over the door and then repeating that logo somewhere and make it really obvious that they go together.
That old sign that's sticking out, can we put the logo, the EPM on that?
That's a great idea. That's what we were thinking of, painting that sign. If we could, paint it to match the EPM building and then put black letters.
Mm-hmm.
That would kind of, that would work.
I think that'd be great too.
Kind of hard to tell from here, but it looks like your door on the left is taller.
It's not.
It's the same?
angled.
It's
Yes, sir.
okay.
Yes, sir.
I think they need to match. I mean, from here, it looks like it's
Yes, sir. No,
different,
they're
but,
the same. You're right.
yeah.
But that does, I'm looking at it as well, and it looks like it's quite a bit bigger, but it's not.
Well, thank you, Board Chair, to allow him to come up during my presentation, but that's kind of it for the city staff. I'm going to kind of go down here and let y'all look at that, and of course, obviously, Mr. Munoz has done some public comment. You're welcome to open it up for public comment and then decide what a motion, if you choose to move forward, would be.
Okay, is there any further public comment at this time?
No? Unless you have any questions?
Okay, and if there's not any further public comment, does anybody have any further questions for staff or the applicant at this time?
Well, thank you for being willing to invest in downtown and
Absolutely.
try to make some improvements.
Thank y'all.
So, do we want to approve any part of it? Do we want to, or wait till they get it kind of resussed and bring it back? How do we need to proceed here? Do we need to let him go ahead and do his storefront part, or?
I think we need to table it till he brings us a new drawing and a new
Yep.
plan of what he's gonna do, so we can look at it again, because there was a lot of I liked everybody's ideas, but we really didn't
What are we gonna land on?
settle on
Yeah.
anything. I think it would behoove him too to do that. That way he can look at it once it's redone and say, that's what you would like to do too, you know?
Absolutely, come on forward. Just identify yourself again for the recording, if you would.
I was gonna ask if there's any way I could move forward with the storefront, and I won't change the color, and we can revisit about the color. Just, because everything takes so long. By the time I place the order for the windows,
True.
it may be the end of the year before I get this done, and I'm trying to get it done before winter.
Is somebody local doing the window?
Yes, sir. I'm
Angelo
looking at two
Glass?
contractors, Concho Construction or Casey Daring at Window Depot.
Yeah.
We're talking,
Yeah,
we're
I know
visiting
some
with both of
that. I
them.
mean, if you do like a traditional storefront like the Angelo Glass, I mean, they build it on site. I mean, that stuff's quick.
The
But if
windows,
it's,
the windows are
you
the
know, I
problem.
don't know, you know.
Yeah,
So if you're doing
no.
something different, yeah. it
Their
does-
construction is
It
fast.
does take a while,
The windows are a big issue right now.
yeah.
I feel good with that, him going ahead and.
I do
doing
too.
The windows and
Yeah.
the door, yeah. So, if I make a motion for that.
Yeah, the only thing is, what if you go up there and you're gonna pull that brick off up above it, or what are you gonna do with that? I mean, what if something changes there, then you got that storefront, then you got a problem,
Yeah.
you know? I don't see that. I mean, you could put that under there, but then what about all that? You gonna plaster on top of all of that? Or leave it brick, or what's gonna happen on the sides?
I was gonna leave that
Because
alone.
you really can't take that bottom out unless you take that upper, unless there's an angle iron holding that brick up,
So
which
the,
there's not.
did you see that border, that light tan border right next to the blue? The
Yeah.
glass goes up to that, so I don't even have to touch the
No,
tile.
I'm talking about going up top.
Okay,
See, so that, all that brick right there
right,
is gonna have to come out, because,
they're gonna reinforce,
yeah,
right,
there's
right.
nothing holding that other brick up. I mean, they got angle irons over the windows, but
Right,
once you pull
right.
that out,
Yeah.
all that's gonna have to come out. So,
Well, did anybody have any objection to him doing the stucco on the brick that was left above where the entryway was going?
Yes. So what I'd be seeing is what the lower deal is, that'd be all mainly glass and frame, right? And that brick
Well-
line, that little narrow line we're seeing would still be retained. That's probably gonna have to be a header up there.
Yeah, right
the
there.
angle, the big angle iron is up top, there's a big I-beam running across there, right there. That's what's carrying the load, everything else is nothing.
But to leave that brick above you'd be taking
This
all
will be
that.
left alone.
Okay, all
All
right,
that
Yeah.
will be left alone.
okay.
And this right here, will be, all this around will be left alone. Just this part is what he's questioning.
Yeah, that's what he's
Just all
looking
that
at.
red brick would come out.
Yeah.
Be
All
stucco.
that would have to come out.
What would.
Go back to the
y'all
stucco.
Be in favor of me, just that, where that red brick is, matching the color to EPM, we talked about that earlier, to kind of help, tie the two. I'm not doing a lot, just that one area above the
I
glass.
mean, you could even if you, yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I don't either.
You could even paint that plaster the color of that other brick on top, or, you know, that could be,
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't know
the
what else
left
you do. If
side.
you're not gonna run the glass all the way up, then plaster would be the next best thing.
Yeah, and then it would tie in with the other one.
Problem.
and just that section to
Yes.
tie in. Okay, the,
And
brick,
then-
the
And then once
tile.
you get the tile and all that cleaned off, you know, if it is an issue, because that bark face brick, sometimes that stuff's a little hard to clean up,
Yes, sir.
but
Yeah, but going with the
still get-
stucco there,
you can
I mean,
get
that
some
would
brick.
give you the tie-in.
That
you
would
know.
be great, that would be
So
great.
I
That would
wouldn't
be-
have a problem with that.
That would be awesome.
Okay, so what we're looking at is a way to make a motion to approve the part for the storefront and the header above it that's under the, what is it, the cornice? What is the word? Do you know how to write that up so that we can, okay.
Yes, sir.
So he can go on about that while he works on the rest of it?
And so we're under the guise or the direction right now is that the two columns on the end and the portion above, the header and the portion above would remain as is.
exactly. And you
I
can
mean,
go ahead and pull the tile.
pull the
off.
tile off,
And pull
clean
the
that
tile
up.
off and start working on the
Yes.
brick
So
however
we're
he
talking
sees fit.
storefront, the piece above the storefront.
Yes.
Okay.
And then if he gets ready to do an awning or change signage or whatever, he'll come back and we'll look at that.
Perfect, that would be perfect, that's great.
Okay, however that ends up being worded, I'll make a motion that we approve it that way, subject to staff revision as instructed and with the requirements they put on it.
I would second that.
So we have a sort of a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Again, like you said, thank you very much for participating in downtown and helping make it all better. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing the cool cars in the window.
Yeah, that's gonna be really neat.
Okay, thank you. We're moving on to the division report, if there is one.
Just very briefly, first I wanted to say thank you very much for giving us some of that direction and having that discussion. We hope to continue to bring cases like that we really value y'all's input and your design ability, and you know, Mr. Mazur and Mr. Schmidt have some great construction background of here's really how you have to build things. So that's very, very critical to our applicants so that they kind of get some really good direction. So thank you on that. As Jeff said, we do have a new planning manager, Zach Rainbow, so we're very excited about him. Came to us from Abilene, Texas, has 15 years' experience in Abilene.
Welcome.
He was a baby planner when I was in Abilene too, so we're excited about having him here. We do have some applicants for planning positions, and so we look to be hiring some new planners, so you might see some new faces coming forward soon. Jeff, did you have any updates on, I know that you're looking at a downtown design district expansion. Do you have any updates of any dates or anything of any public meetings that might be coming up this month or next month?
We're looking at probably late July or early August for possibly doing a town hall meeting and discussing the proposed expansion of our downtown design district. So this is obviously could mean potentially more cases for y'all to review, and just some of the sensitivity around those sites, keeping, preserving the historic and some of the buildings. So we had originally brought that to Planning Commission for review, but we were kind of directed to make this more clear to the public, and so we'll get back to you on that shortly.
So it would be basically like an expansion of the area that, currently we kind of go up Chadburn and kind of narrows down almost street by street, but it would maybe open that up to protect some of our other buildings that aren't historically protected, but could be protected by design element through the downtown district. We do have an update. I think Hillary probably brought it forward maybe about a year and a half ago, that we received a grant from the Texas Historical Society group to do a historical survey of our downtown buildings. They have worked on that and provided a report to us. Now we're working with them to look at what would be an actual historic district in our downtown, that would actually be a historic overlay. We anticipate maybe August or September, we might have some plans that would come in front of you to look at, to get your ideas and opinions on where that district really should be based on what they found dating buildings and looking at facades and things like that. So that's very exciting for us to possibly get a downtown historic district that would protect even a few more blocks under the historical side of things, and keep our downtown vibrant and moving forward. So that's all we have.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Thomas.
I don't know how to present this other than from my own personal perspective, but having worked the historical, living downtown in a historical deal, I'm having people come to me, and I frankly don't have the answers. We have benefits for historical downtown and expansion of it for our businesses and some help. And there's a river down there. It's sort of like on the other side of the railroad tracks, if you put it one way. Some of us on the other side may not. For instance, I have a tile roof by Ludwig or whatever, Chicago, so probably the same roof on the Cactus Hotel. I have not been able to settle. They're trying to pay me nothing. And I was told this could be a $150,000 roof if it was redone with that tile. And they're trying to pay me some small sum that I wouldn't even ask a roofer to go on the roof, because they break more tiles going on. And it's a dilemma for some of the, let me say, homeowners perhaps. And I've got some of them asking, and some of them need help. And right now they're going through the long deal of trying to obtain any financial aid from national stuff, which takes a long time, but the roof, if it's leaking, needs to be replaced. And, you know, if I need to put a roof on tomorrow as an owner and being on this commission, it's like I have to come and get y'all's approval. I may not be in a position as a homeowner, because if it's roof, that roof needs to come on there, I need to get something on it. And I think there's several of us downtown have residences that do not have the money, like on the other side of the railroad tracks, the river, if you look. Some of us don't have the ability, we're retired, and I'm having some people down in that area ask those questions. I don't know really, frankly, where to go. I don't know what is totally applicable. From what I'm seeing, needs approval, and we certainly, everybody, I think, wants to obey the laws and what we're trying to accomplish. But for some of us, it may be very difficult, and in some cases, it may not be, we may not can wait for an answer. That
Yes,
roof
sir.
could break at any time. That's been there since 1929 or 30.
Yes,
But
sir.
What do I do?
Well, there's a couple of things in our current ordinance. One that has always been there, that deals with emergency situations. And I think we would probably look at, you know, if a roof collapse, a major roof leak, something like that, as an emergency situation, you're able to move forward without approval to get that rectified. The other thing that we did a couple of years ago is we reduced the requirements for residential. And so a residential approval only applies in the river corridor if their property backs up to the river. If they're outside of that, then it depends on if they are historically overlaid or downtown district overlaid. If they're downtown district overlaid and it's a like for like, say you've got an asphalt shingle and you're going back with asphalt shingles, there is no fee and it's an administrative approval for that. And so it's really, if there's only major changes, would it have to come to the board for those major changes? I think we could do a much better job of getting that information on our website and getting that out maybe to some of those property owners in that area. But we saw that a few years ago can be a high hurdle at some times to get over. And so we're trying to possibly help the homeowners in those areas to still try to keep it consistent to what may be downtown and in those areas, but not have to wait 30 days, come before a board. Oh, you only can do this type of tile. If it's historically overlaid, it's a little different. They do have to come to the board, but if it's not historic overlaid, I do think, and many of y'all will probably echo this, there's got to be some common sense in the ordinances to allow people to move forward with their projects, particularly if it's an emergency situation.
Yeah.
I agree with it, but I think what he's saying is, I've got a clay tile roof that's $150,000, and I can't afford to put a clay tile roof, but you're in the DHRC, and that's what they're gonna require. I wanna put a $30,000 composition.
Yeah.
So how does that work? I think that's what.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's
Well,
what-
that-
He doesn't care about the 30 days. He's just saying,
Right.
I can't afford to put that $200,000
Yeah.
roof on there.
Succinctly stated.
And now you're in this, and he's on the board, and he's on the, so.
Right.
I think, I agree with you 100%. We're trying to keep everything consistent and keep it
Yes.
up to par, but boy, some things, it's just not feasible.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think
what do you-
that
what-
feasibility would have to, we've got to
Is there
figure out how to
any-
resolve that. and
Is there any
so-
out to that, or what is the rule? I mean, like he's saying, otherwise he's just gonna let that thing leak and ruin his house.
Yeah, it's-
He needs to do something now. So, I mean,
And
I know
there's
there's
others
an
in that.
emergency deal, but that doesn't help you because you wanna put another roof on it. You
Right.
don't wanna
I
just-
had a front door stuck, and I mean, we could not, it is
Yeah.
full, and it's not a common door.
Yeah.
And I was at a point where I was gonna have to stick a door, because that's where my clients come to, that I work out of the house most of the time, even though we have that. And I know we don't have an answer, but I want to plead, when you talk about down here, division reports and what y'all are talking about, we may need some help for people
Yes.
like me, and that's not because I'm on the board. I even thought, well, maybe I need to resign the board, because I don't want a conflict. But there are some of us
Yes,
that
sir.
I
agree.
cannot put a little.
I've always kind of
Yes,
had an
sir.
issue with having those homes put in there. To me, I'm not a favor of that at all.
Yes, sir.
You know, when you've got to come in and, you know, some of those lower income places when they're on the river and, you know, it doesn't seem like a big burden, but it can be a burden.
Right.
Well,
And-
even the paperwork
Oh, yeah.
involved is
I mean,
is
Yeah.
extensive.
for something that's simple, I don't know. I just have a real issue with that.
Okay. Well, if y'all would like, we'd be happy to come back in August with some answers and some suggestions, and then have a
I think there
discussion
needs to
on
be
that.
more discussion about it
Yes, sir.
myself.
We'd be
I
happy
mean,
to
it
do
doesn't
that.
come up a lot, but I know we've done some of them over the years where, you know, that backed up to the river and, you know, they're like, wow, I can't even paint my house.
Right.
It's gotta be this and that and,
And I truly want it to look like it was built by,
Right.
Anton Korn, one of the 3 or 4 residences in town, but there's some pretty expensive
Yes,
stuff
sir.
that this old poor boy, and there's some others down there just simply cannot afford being.
Well, and we all know there's those that don't come and have a public voice on that, because they just don't know how to voice their concerns, and so, you know, we hear the ones that do have the voices, so, yeah, let's talk about that in August at our next
Okay.
meeting. We'll look at staff and dig into the ordinance and see if maybe we can provide some suggested changes and get y'all's direction and discussion on it.
Great.
I appreciate it and sorry to bring it, but it's something I think needs to
No, I
be
think-
addressed, so.
Yeah,
Representing a lot of people.
we need to know that.
be happy to do that.
Okay. The next regular meeting of DHRC is scheduled to begin on Thursday, August 19th, 2021 at 10 a.m. right here. And with that, we'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
10:56 a.m. Thank you.